What's up, everyone? So just a forewarning, this will not be the best quality video as I drove to my hometown of New Bethlehem, and I think the service sucks here, so I'll probably be losing you. But couldn't do a video today because I've been busy. If you only watch the first 30 seconds of this, I want to let you know it looks like my radio show tomorrow with Todd and Carlos will be 3 p.m. Eastern time to 5 p.m. Eastern time. We had a conflict of interest, so we had to push it back a little, but we'll still be doing the show 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. You'll be able to find that on YouTube, D Live, Twitch. If you're in Williamsport, we'll be local on the radio. So, but yeah, I wanted to do a little video here discussing YouTube's censorship of me, which occurred yesterday during a live stream. I happen to have my live stream pulled down as I was talking about Kyle Rittenhouse. And I thought that was about, but hey, what's up, Arcadia? I'm just saying real quick again, I'll cut in and out the whole time, so if people don't listen to me, that's fine. But I just felt like talking. Did a fantasy football draft. I think it came out all right. I didn't plan on watching much football this year. I probably still won't. But, you know, it was a keeper league, so... And it's nice to see friends, which I rarely do anymore. So I finally got a night off and got to talk to some friends. That was fun. I am going to meet my wife now. Go to a little birthday party. So anyways, yeah, for those of you who were watching me yesterday, I was doing a live stream and we were talking about some things, and YouTube, I had about 20 people watching on YouTube, and it pulled my live stream in real time, which either means someone from YouTube was watching me and pulled it, or there was some algorithm that heard some of my words and pulled it, or most likely what it is ever since I did some Twitch debates, Twitch is largely, the political scene on Twitch is largely left-leaning, and I believe that those people report me to Twitter and YouTube, Twitch all the time in an effort to get me kicked off because they can't deal with a conservative throughout this ride. It's what to live in the sticks, man. We don't have reception. But I'm just doing it for enjoyment. Hopefully you guys like it too. But yeah, I seriously believe that they're trying to, a lot of these left-wingers, I don't think it's YouTube personally sending an agent out to watch me or anything like that because I'm not big enough. What it is these left-wing Twitch or not bots, but people that act as bots, because they have nothing to say. You see when I debate them, all they do is filibuster, and that's it. They got nothing. They filibuster, they interrupt me, they laugh because they don't have any arguments. So that's fine. So I assume one of them was watching my YouTube stream and reported me to Twitch, YouTube, D Live, whatever. I thought it was about Kyle Rittenhouse. It was not. I got an email from YouTube and they were upset because of my discussion on COVID. And it said that I violated terms and services by being critical of the CDC and World Health Organization on COVID. So allow me to clarify what I was saying and see if I get kicked off again. I am not offering medical advice. I merely was pointing out how our leaders and our health experts were engaged in the politicization of the response towards the pandemic. I did not say the pandemic was fake. I did not recommend that people do certain things. I told you what I would do, which is the best decision for me. And I told you that I do not trust experts that admit that they lie to you. I will stand by that. And if that gets me kicked off YouTube permanently, so be it. I don't care. Which is why you should follow me on other platforms such as D Live would be the best platform. So on DLive.tv, you can find me there. I'm under Normal America. And I don't know how much longer I'll be on YouTube because one of the things I promised myself was I will not self-censor. I will say what I want. I'm reasonable, like I don't swear as much as I do in real life while I'm on here and things like that. Obviously, there's certain concessions you're willing to make, but I'm not going to cave in on a topic because YouTube deems that I have to. It's not going to happen. So if you're interested in listening to me, I really recommend following me on D Live or maybe even Twitch because we'll see how long it goes with YouTube. Now, let me just say real quick, I will be interested to see, first off, YouTube is a scourge. Its parent company, Google, Professor Robert Epstein testified in front of Congress that they have the potential to swing up to 16 million votes in 2020. That's just Google and YouTube. You can imagine how Twitter, Facebook, and other companies would be able to skew that even further. They are in a full court press. They're just an arm of the Democratic Party establishment at this part. So once more, think of all the things that are stacked against Trump and conservatives, even more so than 2016, and he still won in 2016. I expect them to cheat the entire time. There will be a anonymous sourced story breaking about Trump every other day now. They will get more heinous the closer we get to the election. So it is what it is, but be prepared. That stuff will happen. That's why you should get off. You should follow your favorite people on platforms other than YouTube, because they are censorious stooges that are interested in the decline of the United States and of the middle class. They are the scum of the earth. They are, along with the mainstream media, some of the biggest enemies that this country has. Talk about, I just wanted to say real briefly on COVID. I'll be interested to see if some of the recommendations that people talked about in COVID, if some of the things they talked about end up being true, such as criticisms of the CDC, World Health Organizations, etc., and the policies that they offered. Because remember, at one point the CDC was telling us not to wear masks. Remember? They told us not to wear masks. So if I was on YouTube then, according to YouTube's policy, and I was saying, I don't know, I think that it might be beneficial for you to wear a mask, I would have been booted off YouTube for disagreeing with the CDC. You know who else disagrees with the CDC? The CDC. They now say what they were saying in March was a lie. Oh, no, now masks are necessary. So I'm not taking a stance on the viability of masks. Make your own decision. What I am saying is that it'll be interesting to see if people's lives were ruined because of incorrect decisions by the CDC, the World Health Organization, and other places. And instead of allowing actual people to have a discussion about this, social media companies chose to selectively censor people that went against that orthodox narrative. It'll be interesting to see if there's legal accountability. Am I able to sue YouTube or Twitter or Facebook that censored options that could have kept people healthy? We'll see. I hope so. I hope they're sued out of oblivion. They are an evil corporation, and that's what Google deserves. Now, moving on from that pleasant subject, I'm loath to even talk about it, but once you roll the narrative in the establishment, and they could just make a story up, manifest out of thin air, and it becomes the biggest story in the country. So this newest story is Trump said that soldiers are stupid and they're losers. That's why he didn't go to a cemetery. First off, if he said it, I'm sure it was in the context of a joke. The left doesn't know how to handle a joke. Secondly, if he said it, I don't care. His actions show that he cares more about the troops than the presidents we've had previously. For example, he hasn't sent that many to die in foreign regime change wars. If I was a soldier and I had to pick between someone who said something rude about soldiers once, or he said something rude about soldiers once, but he tried to pull me out of foreign hostile areas, which I was doing no good to the nation, fighting and dying in, or someone who talked a good game about troops, but was sending me to die in places that had nothing to do with my family or keeping my country safe, I would choose the former. I'm sick and tired of this idea of, well, Trump says mean things and he does mean things. How about actions? Yeah, Trump is a brash person. I understand. When Obama hated America and he hated average working class people of all races, of all religions, etc., when he had contempt for them because he's an elite establishment globalist, yeah, he was very eloquent in how he pretended to not have contempt. The mask slip, though, he talked to us about clinging to our guns and Bibles and things like that. But yeah, I'm supposed to appreciate Obama, who hated me and whose actions showed that he had no love for the middle class of this country and instead denigrated the greatest country in the world over and over by his actions and his words. I'm supposed to say, well, as long as he spoke eloquently, it was okay. This is nonsense. And not to mention, this story's a lie anyways. Trump didn't say what he said. And what this story shows is just the patent absurdity of our media. 4 anonymous sources. Let's say that's true. Let's say 4 people anonymously said, oh yeah, Trump said this. He said mean things about soldiers. How can you then use those same anonymous sources to confirm? If no one goes on the record with this, I could say the same thing. 4 anonymous sources told me that Joe Biden talked trash on soldiers. The fact that another outlet could go talk to those anonymous sources doesn't prove that those anonymous sources told the truth. Hunter S. Thompson did this one time, right? So If you don't know, Hunter S. Thompson was the author who wrote Fear and Loathing. He wrote a bunch of other books, but he believed in what he called gonzo journalism, and he was a left-wing person. I can't remember which election it was, but he was in the press poll, and he asked the candidate, who was a right-wing candidate, he said, what do you say about the rumors that you are involved in some salacious sex scandal or something like that? And he's like, well, it's not true. Are those rumors out there? And Hunter S. Thompson's like, yes, those rumors are out there. And so they were forced to answer this question, and Hunter S. Thompson admitted, well, the rumors were out there because I started them. But they're out there. The rumors were out there. Right? You see how that works? So yeah, I'm not surprised that a bunch of Trump officials that want us in forever regime change wars are PO'd right now that Trump's having historic Middle East peace deals, and he's talking about pulling troops out of these forever regime change wars. Of course, then a bunch of neocons. Now, we admit, the left will admit, oh, they all lied to us back in 2003 to get into the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. They all lied to us then. But now we just have to trust them anonymously. When they're anonymous, we just have to trust them. Now, of course, Goldberg, the person who printed this story, also famously was one of the biggest Russia collusion hoaxers, a story that was a lie, and has printed other crap. People at The Atlantic are on the payroll of Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama's foundations, but we have to just take them and their anonymous sources at word. Even when we have people like John Bolton, who was there, who despises Trump, who wrote a whole book of salacious details about Trump, even when he says, nah, that's not what happened. Even when we have Freedom of Information Act requests showing that the story is a lie, that actually it wasn't Trump that suggested canceling the trip, it was actually people in the Navy that suggested because the dangerous weather conditions, it would be dangerous for the helicopter that normally carries the president to do so. See if I come back here. Coming back. Sorry about that. Yeah, living in the sticks again, sorry about that. So there's people on the record have denied it that were actually there, and they've given their names to their case. We have Freedom of Information Act requests that show it. And the response by almost all of the media is like, oh, but we confirmed, we talked to the anonymous sources and they said that as well. And then when Goldberg was asked, why won't your anonymous sources go on record, which even if they go on record proves nothing, but let's say they do go, why won't they go on record? At least do that. And he said because they're afraid they'll get mean tweets sent to them. So these tough guy military officials that were senior administration officials are afraid that they'll have mean tweeted at them? Please. This is so laughable. Now let me say this. From what I've seen of his actions, regardless, but I feel that Donald Trump actually cares about military personnel. Again, juxtapose Barack Obama standing in the rain while I believe a Marine had to sit there and hold an umbrella over him while he got soaked, versus the image of, in real time, Donald Trump getting on Air Force One and a Marine's hat blowing off, and Trump running, picking up the hat and presenting it to the soldier. Now, that's not a calculated move. That's something that was spur of the moment, showing that Trump really appreciates these soldiers. Now, the fact that he said mean things about John McCain, sure. Was it a mistake to say, I prefer people that don't get captured? Probably. It was a joke. He was repeating a Chris Rock joke. But you could say it was still a mistake. Fair enough. That sort of thing doesn't really bother me. He went after John McCain, not because John McCain was a military person, but because John McCain was a snake in the grass that was a warmonger who was also engaged in an active coup against Donald Trump. So yeah, I'm not surprised Trump said mean things to him. Trump doesn't have a filter. When someone comes at him, he goes at them. He'll say whatever he thinks can harm them. Oftentimes, it's not what you would want someone in a position of leadership to do. But it's not the biggest issue in the world to me. Now, having said that, I respect John McCain's military service. I think it was tragic that he was captured. Probably not the smartest thing for Trump to joke like that when he's the president of the United States, or running for president. I can't remember if he was already president when he said that. I think he was. Nonetheless, I don't think it's a huge issue. Why all of a sudden are we focused on specific things that he said? And it just reeks of, look, we just had the story the other day that, who is it, former General McChrystal is now using military technology to engage in an information war against Trump and his supporters. That's an actual story that was reported. Of course, the way it was reported was, oh, well, what they're really doing is countering disinformation. The mainstream media is the disinformation. But they control the narrative so much that they allow themselves to appear. Now it's the biggest story, a nothing story. Trump said that I have 4 anonymous sources that Trump was going to visit 9/11 first responders, but he said that they're all poopy heads. So there you go. Sounds reasonable, right? Poopy heads? Oh my goodness. Not poopy heads. Yeah, that happened. Oh, wait. Here's another one. We're focused on these anonymous sources of things Trump allegedly said. Oh, what's that? I'm just getting a report in now. 4 anonymous sources, we could confirm this. 4 anonymous sources have said that Donald Trump called one of his supporters a lying dog-faced pony soldier. And he also said that black people aren't really black if they don't vote for him. Yeah, unconfirmed. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait, what was that? Oh, I'm sorry. No, that's actually confirmed on tape that we could all see with our own eyes that Joe Biden said. Why is no one talking about that again? Instead, we'd rather talk about Democratic fantasies of Trump saying, they're losers. People that sign up for the military are losers. It doesn't even sound like something he would say. I could see him trying to make a joke. It's just nonsense. Now, let me say something real quick here that's a little off the wall and maybe you haven't heard other people say. Do you know what deepfake technology is? So my buddy, for example, I forget the name of this app. It's called like Face App or something. But there's this app that you can get, I think, for free. And what it does is you can submit so many pictures of yourself and then submit something like he did it with Chuck Norris. So there was like Chuck Norris clips and it put his face on Chuck Norris's body and it actually kind of looked like him with just long hair. It was crazy. And they could do it with sound as well. There's been a bunch of lawsuits about pornography places that are using, quote, deep fakes, so to make a celebrity look like they're engaged in pornographic actions. And I've been warning for a while, this will inevitably be used politically. Now, I'm not saying that's what's happening in this situation, but what's to stop them from just releasing audio and saying, oh yeah, here's the audio right here of Donald Trump saying that. That technology exists. People like me and you could get our hands on it. So what's to stop them from releasing something? It's clear that the media is disingenuous. They're not going to look into it. They're trying to they're just an extension of the Joe Biden campaign. So I would not be surprised if you see a story like this is obviously fake, and then all of a sudden if audio comes out of, oh, and here's Trump saying it. It's nonsense. It's a garbage story. Even if it was true, it doesn't swing the pendulum for me. They understand that one of Trump, again, listen to the stories that I was talking about earlier this week. They admitted in their war game scenario that was ran in the Washington Post and other places that and Hillary Clinton said this, they're not going to concede the election. They're going to drag it out and try to force the military to make a decision. Well, they realized that the military, at least the average people serving in the military, tend to lean pro-Trump. So they're trying to crush that support, the military support of Trump. If you're in the military, don't believe this for a second. Believe them by their actions. Again, Trump is trying to get you home to your families. Trump has the utmost respect for the military, at least with the actions that he showed. Has he done everything perfect with the military and foreign policy? No. I didn't like him bombing Syria, for one. But that's what this is. They're trying to attack one of Trump's strengths. And they're doing so with an unsourced... How many times must the media engage in these hoaxes before we say, this is garbage? And again, we have real Freedom of Information Act documents. You have people like John Bolton who despise Trump and made up all kinds of crap about him to sell a book. Even he, who was there, saying, yeah, this didn't happen. And if they're lying, now the way they're going to try to present it is, well, okay, maybe they did cancel because of rain, but Trump still said this stuff. If they're lying about the first part of it, they're lying about the second part of it. And again, this is a non-story anyways. Let us not forget, a Trump supporter was executed in Portland. The media is continuing to carry water for Antifa and Black Lives Matter. The same media that went nuts after Charlottesville and demanded over and over that Trump denounce the groups that supposedly were at Charlottesville, like neo-Nazis and things like that, haven't said not word one about the fact that Joe Biden refuses to condemn Black Lives Matter or Antifa. In fact, the same media outlets are defending Black Lives Matter and Antifa. Your cities are burning down. You've been locked down because of COVID and all the shenanigans and the politicization that went with that. And they're trying to make a big story that supposedly Trump said that soldiers are losers. This is one of the dumbest, most transparently ridiculous lies that I've ever seen. The fact that Joe Biden put out an ad within 15 hours that was produced. This wasn't an ad with just a little clips. It was a produced clip or produced media ad. actually talking to Gold Star family members. Absolutely ridiculous. It's clear that the media is colluding with the Democratic Party and with Joe Biden. The questions that they asked Joe Biden today were absolutely ridiculous. What do you think about Donald Trump's soul? Asked someone from The Atlantic who asked the first question. How about this? Mr. Biden, Vice President Biden, you say that you condemn the violence and the riots. Could you explain why your staffers and your vice presidential pick both donated money or advocating donating money to bail out rioters in Minneapolis? Has anyone asked that question? I wonder why. Remember, Trump's big sin after Charlottesville was saying, I condemn hatred, I condemn racism, I condemn bigotry, I condemn this act. We need to come together as a country. That wasn't. Then he gave a second speech where he did specifically condemn neo-Nazis and other groups. Then he gave a third speech on the economy, which they then... Anyway, sorry. So the media and Joe Biden, they continue to push the Trump said Nazis were good people hoax. Meanwhile, imagine if instead of just condemning them but not using their name in that first speech, imagine that you would have found out that Trump was bailing out the people that were arrested at Charlottesville. Imagine the media story on that. That's what Joe Biden's staff did. That's what his vice president did. And not one question about it. And don't little bit of daylight. Yeah, sorry. It'll get sketchy from here on out. Sorry. But I told you, these sorts of attacks, this is the tip of the iceberg. It will be... You have no idea how sleazy. This is nothing. You think this is... Wait until the sexual assault allegations come out. Oh, I was silent for the past 4 years of Trump being in office, but now I have to bring the story forward. And it doesn't matter how absurd the claim is, it will be totally believed by the media. Meanwhile, let's not forget, Kamala Harris said she believed the women that said Joe Biden sexually assaulted them, yet she's running as his vice presidential candidate. Has the media asked her about it? Nope. Not at all. Not one time. How disgusting of a person. I don't care what the position is. They could offer me the vice presidential job right now. And if I personally believe that the person that I was running as vice president on the ticket of, or helping out someone that I believe to be a serial sexual assaulter, I would turn down the position. There is no amount of money or prestige or power that would allow me to accept helping benefit a serial sexual assaulter. So was Kamala Harris lying when she said she believed that Joe Biden was a sexual assaulter? Or is she lying now when she claims that she doesn't believe it? That's the caliber of the person. And they're worried about Trump saying he might have said soldiers are losers. That's what you're worried about? If I had to choose between, if these stories were true, and I had to choose between someone saying that people that died in war were losers, or someone that says, hey, the person I'm on the ticket with is a serial sexual assaulter, but I don't care, go Biden. But bring that up to the left, they'll say, oh, the facts have changed. Really? Can you tell me what facts have changed? When Kamala Harris said this in February, 4 different women had accused Joe Biden. She said she believed them. Riots, COVID, all this crap that's being supported by the Democratic Party. They literally they're punishing you. They're threatening you. Vote for us or we'll destroy this country. That's what they're doing. Their media allies are helping them out. They're gaslighting you like you've never seen it happen. Now, gaslight's a term. It's like, what does that mean? It means that they're literally suggesting the opposite of the truth. They're lying to encourage people to go along with their lies. So they know that the left is rioting and they say, oh, it's Trump supporters rioting. When we know that's not the truth. They control the narrative so much. Now that's the narrative. You literally get kicked off Facebook or Twitter for defending Kyle Rittenhouse and saying it looks like self-defense. How can that be? Can you think of another case where we've seen where people say, I don't think that. Imagine if this was during the OJ trial. I remember that. I was a kid. I was in like 6th grade. Imagine if the OJ trial occurred. I'm going to lose you here in a second. Imagine if the OJ trial occurred now and you had like 25 to 30% of people saying, I think he's innocent. I don't think OJ did it. They would be banned? This is insanity. And it's under the pretext of, well, we're fighting fake news. Everything they accuse you of is exactly what they're doing. Think of this. In the Washington Post war game scenario that they put out that said the only scenario that they could foresee that there won't be violence is if Biden wins in a landslide. Now, isn't that odd? Think about what they say without saying it there. If Trump wins under any scenario, there won't be violence. Why is that? Supporters aren't violent. They'd be willing to accept if Joe Biden clearly wins the election, but not Biden supporters. Yet if you read the article, all it is saying, oh, the Republicans and Trump supporters, how violent they are. Why would Trump supporters be violent if Trump wins? Sorry, but there are people in my life that believe stories like this one in the Atlantic. There are people that believe Rittenhouse is obviously a mass murder, but this Reinhold guy or whatever that was killed by the police last night that executed a Trump supporter, well, that could have been self-defense. They believe that it's Trump supporters out there causing violence. It's insanity. Also, it's worth talking about just because, did you see this story? Again, this isn't big national news, and that's fine, but it's been online. Of the professor of African American Studies who admitted she pretended to be black for her whole career. Now, you may know from the debates I've had online that I was told that white privilege means that no matter what, as a white person, you always have, your skin color will never be detrimental to you. My take has been, from the get-go, yes, there's white privilege, and there's black privilege, and there's Hispanic privilege, and there's Asian privilege, and there's straight privilege, and there's gay privilege, and all of those groups could also be disenfranchised as well. It's complicated. And I'm told, no, you can't be racist against white people. There's always white privilege. It's unique. It can never be detrimental. It's always a privilege to you. Can you explain to me now why we're starting to see people pretending to be black then? If it wasn't a benefit to Rachel Dolezal, to this professor, why would they pretend to be black? Obviously, they felt it incurred privileges to themselves. And we all know it's the truth. It's this dishonest garbage that we have to put up with that frustrates me so much. I don't mind. I tell you all the time, I don't mind talking to like even a communist if they're arguing in good faith and they're honest. But this sort of stuff is ridiculous. I said every single one of us knows that in certain situations it's beneficial to be a person of color, to be a woman, to be gay, to not be a Christian, etc. There are also, if you're honest, being straight, being white, being male, there are privileges to those. I'm willing to admit that. My side's willing to admit that. The other side's the one that says, no, it's always white privilege, and we need to denounce white privilege, and we need to take it out. It's just nonsense. Violence will be inevitable as long as we judge people exclusively based on their skin color. As long as you say that people based on their skin color need to be responsible for sins of the past, there will inevitably be violence and cause to violence. Problems will never solve. So in conclusion, as it's getting dark, as you can see, in conclusion, let me just say, this story on the Atlantic, don't even give it the time of day. It's clearly crap. We see from Freedom of Information Act requests that it was garbage, and expect more of these attacks every day. Don't let up. Understand, they're trying to destroy this country, and another example of the fake media being an incredible enemy of the people. All right. Thanks so much, everyone. I'm going to be turning here, I think. Thanks so much.